Okay, now we've done these ridiculously early division picks.
Yeah.
Let's do the ultimate
Okay.
exercise in stupidity. What is our ridiculously early World Series prediction?
Man, you want to do that on today's pod? Do you want?
Why not? Well,
Okay.
I mean, what we talked yesterday about freaking Avatar and Top Gun. I mean, let's go. Let's just. Well, this isn't our official pick. This is our right here. What do you think?
Right here, just because I just want to pick this team out the American League every year until they prove me wrong. The Houston Astros, I'm picking again to go to the World Series. They're just so freaking dominant in the regular season. They get to the postseason, last year? Did they lose maybe one playoff game en route to the World Series? Maybe they didn't lose any. They
didn't lose it. The only 2 games they lost were in the World Series, games 1 and 3 of the World Series.
Yeah, they're a freaking juggernaut. Jose Altuve still looks like the best second baseman in baseball. They have won the most stacked lineups. They just added Jose Abreu. Even after losing Verlander, like we talked about, they still have 3 or 4 legit number 2, number 1 starters in that rotation. Young guys coming through that bullpen as well. Love the Houston Astros as my first World Series pick out the American League. Then out the National League, I'm picking a team that almost made it last year because they got all the way to the championship series, but didn't make it to the World Series. And that is the San Diego Padres. As much as I hate them out my own division, I can't help that I love that dude, X-Man Xander Bogaerts. I think he's going to be a huge addition. You also get a full season of Juan Soto with the Manny Machado, with Xander Bogaerts. And of course, you eventually expect Fernando Tatis Jr. back. I think he's going to miss 50 games or something like that. So he'll still have probably around 100 games played as well this season. Darvish, Joe Musgrove. I like this Padres team. They could hit, they could pitch. I think they have a perfect balance of everything. The Dodgers are going to be right there. The 2 NL East teams are going to be right there. But Xander Bogaerts, that winning culture coming over from Boston. I'm picking Padres versus Houston Astros in the World Series.
That's my pick too.
Wow, look at this guy.
Yeah, even though I think the Dodgers are going to win the division, I think the Padres are going to make it through there. Let's make this interesting though.
Okay.
Pick an American League pennant winner.
Okay.
But you can't pick the Astros.
I can't pick the Astros. If I can't pick the Astros, I'm going to ride with the team that's been trying to get over the hump and back to the World Series since 2009. Carlos Rodon is the difference maker. I'm going with the New York Yankees. And also just because it's if you don't pick the Yankees, if you're telling me I can't pick the Astros, it's who else out the American League do you want me to pick? It's either the Blue Jays or it's the Seattle Mariners. I think there's it's a 4-team race for the American League pennant. I just think the American League talent pool, you're talking about the NL, there's the haves and have-nots. I feel more about that in terms of the American League. I feel like the top is really good with the Mariners, the Astros, the Yankees, and I guess the Cleveland Guardians and the Blue Jays. And I guess you could put the Rays, and then everyone else. They're basically the teams from last year that made the playoffs. I think are going to be the favorites to make the playoffs again. And then everyone else, they could potentially have a top 5 pick coming to them this season.
I think it's going to be the Blue Jays. I think it's going to be the Astros, but if I can't pick the Astros, I would pick the Blue Jays. I think they, as I said, they had a lot of disappointing years last year, and Montoyo was not having the team that well the first half. I think there's a lot of talent on that team. I think they're better this year. But this is just the pick if I can't pick the Astros. I just think the Astros are so much better than everybody else. So, that's why I want to throw that in there.
Yeah, the Astros are basically the baseball version of the Golden State Warriors or the Kansas City
Chiefs. Yeah.
You should just pick them against the field every year until the wheels fall off.
And I think the Padres, Dodgers, Mets, Braves, and Phillies and Cardinals all have legit shots to win the pennant. And if you said any of those names, I would have been perfectly fine with them. The star power in San Diego, as you said, they're going to have Soto for the whole year. They're going to have Bogaerts for the whole year. They're adding to the team. They re-signed Darvish to stick around. I like the team. I think they're good. Ha-Seong Kim had a good year last year. Musgrove had a good year for them. I think that in a short series with Los Angeles, I think they could win. It happened last year. And Bob Melvin has a chance to finally win his championship. You have those 2 managers, Bob Melvin and Buck Showalter, this year's Dusty Baker, that they've done everything but win it all. And so it'll be interesting to see if one of them wins it. But I actually think the Astros are going back to back, and I think they're going to. I think they're going to win their third straight pennant, and I think they're going to go back to back as World Series champions.
Let me ask you another question, Sully. Which conference do you think is better? You might have already
conference.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Or league, because I know you were talking about the feast and famine. Just because when I look at the teams that we don't think are true World Series contenders, the D-backs, Giants, Marlins, Cubs, Brewers, like I think those are all really feisty and teams that have a chance of at least making a playoff conversation happening. I look at the American League, it's like I don't know. After in the Central, it's like the White Sox, Tigers, Royals. I'm not in on Orioles, Red Sox, the East, I guess, or what's the other division? Oh, the West. I mean, you don't like the Angels, you don't like the Rangers, you don't like the Oakland A's. I just think the middleman tier of teams in the National League is just a lot better than those middleman tiers.
I don't think there's many middleman teams in the National League. I think that you can look up and down the American League and see some teams that are kind of close to each other.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think there's only one legitimately great team in the American League, and that's Houston. How many terrible teams are there in the American League? The Tigers and the Royals. And I think the A's are better than people think.
Oh my God! How can you say all these other teams are minor league teams and you look at the
fine? I'll throw the A's.
I just don't understand your logic.
I'll throw the A's in there, but I don't think there's any team that's as bad as the Reds. I don't think there's any team as bad as the Nationals. I don't think there's any team as bad as the Rockies. I don't think there's any team as bad as the Pirates. Seriously.
You might have to have like a personal bet here. I'll take my NL bottom feeders over the AL bottom.
How do we quantify
that? Just win totals, I guess. We'll take the 3 worst teams of the NL. You can take the 3 worst teams of the American League, and I'll take the win total. Yeah,
we'll figure that out. And by the way, I just want to while I have all of your attention here, I just want to thank you so much for making Locked On MLB your first listen every day. Have your second listen, obviously, it's going to be Locked On Diamondbacks. Your third listen, have that be Locked On MLB Prospects. The host, Lindsey Crosby, he's a prospect encyclopedia, and he's going deep on the MLB stars of tomorrow. It's free and available wherever you get your podcasts. All right, Miller Thomas, we gotta end this.
Yeah, we've been talking
this podcast
for a while.
We gotta end this friendship, but
yeah, disrespect the D-backs. Think the Tigers are better than them.
I didn't know that. I think the D-backs have a legit shot at being a wild card team. Okay, you have a legit shot to be a host of a wild card team podcast. So tell people where they can find you.
Oh, that's right. The Locked On D-backs podcast. You can follow me on Twitter, my personal Twitter at CreatorThomas24. Follow the show account Locked On Diamondbacks just by typing in the little search bar, Locked On Diamondbacks, Twitter, Instagram, and of course, we're on all your streaming platforms, and we're on YouTube. So please hit subscribe on the Locked On Diamondbacks YouTube channel.
Easy for you to say. And I'm at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter and Instagram. I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. Doing a couple of heated podcasts with Miller Thomas, doing our ridiculously early predictions. This has been a Locked On MLB, Locked On Diamondbacks crossover. I'm Sully. He's Miller Thomas. Let's fist pump till next week.